The signal from beyond. The massive observation dish of Helios Station stretched toward the stars like a metal flower seeking light in the eternal darkness. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the edge of the platform, her eyes fixed on the horizon, where twin moons hung low in the copper sky. Helios 9 had been humanity's most distant outpost for nearly 15 years, a lonely sentinel at the edge of mapped space. "Another beautiful evening, Commander," said Dr. Marcus Chen as he approached, data tablet in hand. His typically calm demeanor seemed strained tonight, an unusual tension visible in the set of his shoulders. "I sense you didn't come up here to admire the view, Doctor," Elena replied, noticing how his fingers tapped nervously against the tablet's edge. Marcus hesitated before speaking. "We picked up something unusual last night. A signal. Not random cosmic noise. Structured, repeating patterns. It's coming from the direction of the Perseus Void." Elena felt a chill despite the warm evening air. The Perseus Void was exactly that. A vast emptiness where stars were scarce and human ships never ventured. "Natural phenomenon." "No chance," he answered firmly. "The patterns are too precise, too mathematical. This is artificial, Commander. And it's aimed directly at us." Within hours, Elena had assembled Helios Station's finest minds in the central command hub. Astrophysicists, xenolinguists, and military strategists crowded around holographic displays showing cascading waves of data. The mysterious signal rendered visible. "It repeats every 73 minutes," explained Dr. Imani Okafor, Chief of Communications. Her dark eyes reflected the blue light of the display as she manipulated the hologram with practiced gestures. "The first section appears to be mathematical. Prime numbers, basic constants, the kinds of universal concepts we use ourselves when trying to establish communication." "And the second part?" Elena asked. "That's where it gets interesting," Imani continued. "We believe it's language, concepts, ideas. We've only decoded fragments, but it seems to be an invitation." The room fell silent. Humanity had searched the stars for centuries, hoping to find other intelligent life. But in all that time, the cosmos had remained stubbornly quiet. Until now. "Could it be a hoax?" asked Colonel James Ward, head of security. "Perhaps a lost human probe or transmission." Marcus shook his head. "The signal originates from over 400 light-years away, and it contains information about stellar formations that match nothing in our databases." "Then what do they want?" Elena voiced the question on everyone's mind. Dr. Okafor hesitated. "Based on our preliminary analysis, they want knowledge. They're requesting information about us, about Earth, about humanity." The debate that followed was heated. Some argued for caution, to observe but not engage. Others pushed for immediate response, seeing this as humanity's great opportunity to finally make contact with another intelligence. "We've prepared for this moment for generations," argued Dr. Chen. "This is why we're out here, to find others, to expand our understanding of life in the universe, or to expose ourselves to threats we can't possibly comprehend," countered Colonel Ward. "We know nothing about them, their technology, their intentions." Elena listened to both sides, weighing each argument carefully. As commander of humanity's farthest outpost, the final decision rested with her. After 3 days of analysis and debate, she made her choice. "We respond," she announced to her assembled team. "But carefully. We share basic scientific knowledge, cultural concepts, our location in broad terms. Nothing that could compromise Earth's security if our new friends turn out to be something else." The response was crafted with painstaking precision, mathematical concepts to establish understanding, followed by information about human biology, history, and achievements. They included images of Earth's varied landscapes, samples of music and art, and finally, a greeting from Commander Reyes herself. "We are humanity," her message concluded. "We seek peaceful exchange of knowledge with all sentient beings. We await your response with hope and friendship." The message was sent, racing across the void toward the unknown recipients. And then they waited. For weeks, life on Helios Station continued with an undercurrent of nervous anticipation. Every communication officer worked double shifts, monitoring for any response. Scientists reviewed the original signal countless times, searching for nuances they might have missed. On the 42nd day, the strange occurrences began. It started with minor equipment malfunctions, sensors giving impossible readings, communications experiencing unexplained delays. Computer systems reported phantom energy signatures at the edge of their detection range. Just interference from the nearby nebula, the engineers insisted, but their explanations grew less convincing as the anomalies increased. Then came the dreams. Station personnel reported eerily similar nightmares: vast, geometric structures floating in darkness, twisted corridors that seemed to bend reality, and always watching eyes that weren't eyes at all, but something fundamentally wrong. Mass hysteria, the station psychologists suggested, a natural response to the stress of potential first contact. Elena wasn't convinced, especially when the station's animals began behaving strangely. The hydroponic slot mice huddled in corners, refusing food. The handful of pet cats brought by crew members hissed at empty shadows and clawed at sealed doors. On the 63rd day, Dr. Chen burst into Elena's quarters, his face pale with shock. "They're coming," he said simply, his voice barely above a whisper. "Our deep space sensors just picked up something massive entering the Helios system. It's moving faster than should be possible." Elena called an immediate station-wide alert. Defense protocols were activated, though everyone understood their weapons would likely be useless against a civilization capable of interstellar travel. "How long do we have?" she asked as they hurried toward the command center. 6 hours, maybe less," Marcus answered. "Whatever it is, it's decelerating now, but the energy readings are off the charts. I've never seen anything like it." Colonel Ward was already organizing security teams when they arrived. "I've armed everyone with basic weapons," he reported grimly. "Not that they'll do much good. Most of our defensive capabilities are designed to protect against meteors, not visitors." "Let's not assume hostility," Elena reminded him, though she felt the same crawling dread that seemed to permeate the station. "They responded to our message. They're intelligent beings seeking contact." "Then why do they feel wrong?" asked Dr. Okafor softly from her station. "I've studied their communications for weeks now, Commander. There's something off about the way they structure concepts, as if they're trying to mimic human thought patterns but don't quite understand them." Elena had no answer for that. Instead, she ordered all non-essential personnel to secure quarters and established a first contact team consisting of herself, Dr. Chen, Dr. Okafor, and reluctantly, Colonel Ward with 2 security officers. As the hours ticked by, the object approaching Helios 9 resolved itself on their sensors. It wasn't a ship, at least not in any conventional sense. The structure, if it could be called that, appeared to be a vast, shifting lattice of dark material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. It moved with impossible grace for something its size, occasionally reconfiguring itself as if the very geometry of its existence was fluid. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Chen, staring at the sensor imagery. "It's wrong," countered Colonel Ward. "Look at how it moves. That's not normal physics." The colonel's concerns seemed justified when 3 hours ahead of calculations, the visitor arrived. Without warning, the massive structure simply appeared in orbit around Helios 9, as if it had always been there. The station's sensors screamed with contradictory data: gravity fluctuations, radiation spikes, and energy signatures that defied classification. "They've arrived," Elena announced through the station-wide communication system, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "First contact protocol is now in effect. All personnel maintain positions and await further instructions." The first contact team assembled in the station's main airlock chamber, the designated meeting area selected for its easy sealing and emergency protocols. They wore standard EVA suits, modified with additional sensors and recording equipment. Remember, Elena instructed her team, we'd represent all of humanity in this moment. Whatever happens, we face it with dignity and purpose. They didn't have to wait long. The airlock's external sensors detected movement. Something was approaching the station. But the readings made no sense. The visitor seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, its form shifting between states of matter that shouldn't be possible. "It's requesting entry," reported Dr. Okafor, studying her handheld scanner. "At least I think that's what these energy patterns indicate." Elena made the call. "Grant access. Controlled decompression protocol." The outer airlock door slid open to the void of space, and what entered wasn't anything they had prepared for. The air in the chamber grew inexplicably cold. Instruments fluctuated wildly, and every human present felt an overwhelming sense of wrongness, as if reality itself objected to the visitor's presence. Elena stepped forward, fighting against her instinctive fear. "On behalf of humanity," she began, her voice strong despite the tremor in her hands, "I welcome you to Helios Station. We are honored to establish first contact with your species." The silver figure tilted its featureless head. Then, impossibly, words formed in their minds, not heard but somehow directly impressed upon their consciousness. "We HAVBBENWA teaching. Your signal, what is? Unexpected. Your kind is interesting." The voice, if it could be called that, felt ancient and cold, like glaciers grinding against stone. It carried with it alien concepts that human minds struggled to process, leaving everyone present with pounding headaches and a sense of vertigo. "We sent our message in peace," Elena continued, pressing her hands against her temples. "We seek knowledge and friendship with other intelligent beings." The silver figure seemed to ripple with what might have been amusement. "Peace. Friendship. These concepts are limiting. We seek understanding through examination. Your kind will be examined thoroughly." Colonel Ward's hand moved instinctively toward his weapon, but Elena stopped him with a sharp glance. "We're happy to share our knowledge," she offered carefully, "but we maintain sovereignty over ourselves and our station." The visitor's form expanded slightly, tendrils of silver material extending outward. "UNICE UNDRSTND. The examination is AL-80BGN." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the station. Dr. Chen's tablet displayed urgent notifications from multiple systems. "Commander," he said, his voice tight with fear, "something's infiltrating our network. Our defenses are being bypassed faster than they can adapt. And there's something else. Energy readings throughout the station. We're being scanned down to the molecular level." Before Elena could respond, the silver figure moved with blinding speed. Tendrils shot out, touching each human present. The sensation was indescribable, cold burning that seemed to penetrate to their very atoms. In that terrible moment of contact, Elena felt something vast and ancient rifling through her mind like pages in a book, examining her thoughts and memories with clinical detachment. As suddenly as it began, the contact ended. The humans collapsed to their knees, gasping in pain and shock. The silver figure reformed, now slightly taller, its surface displaying rapidly changing images of human history, wars, achievements, disasters, triumphs, all flashing by too quickly to follow. "Your kind is primitive but resilient. You fight it against the inevitability with admirability children. This makes you suitable." Suitable for what? Elena managed to ask, struggling back to her feet. The visitor's response seemed to echo from everywhere at once. The test. Without warning, the silver figure dissolved into countless shimmering particles that scattered in all directions, passing through walls and barriers as if they weren't there. The last coherent thought it projected left them all frozen in horror. We will see if humanity to exist. The test of humanity. Chaos erupted throughout Helios Station. The silver particles, now being called the entity by the station personnel, had spread to every corner of the habitat. They passed through walls, machinery, and even human bodies with disturbing ease. Lock down all critical systems, Elena ordered, staggering to her feet. Her head throbbed with the aftereffects of the entity's mental probe. Get me status reports from all sections. The reports came in rapidly, each more alarming than the last. Life support systems were fluctuating wildly. Gravity generators switched on and off at random intervals, sending crew members tumbling through corridors. Communication systems broadcast nonsensical messages in languages that had never existed. And everywhere, people reported seeing impossible things, shadows that moved against the light, surfaces that rippled like water when touched, and reflections that didn't match their sources. It's testing us, Dr. Chen concluded after analyzing the patterns, studying our responses to stress, fear, and unpredictability. It's like a scientist observing lab rats in a maze. Colonel Ward's team attempted to combat the entity using everything from conventional weapons to electromagnetic pulses. Nothing worked. The silver particles simply flowed around obstacles or phased through them entirely. 3 days into the crisis, Dr. Okafor made a breakthrough. She had been isolating patterns in the entity's movements and behaviors, looking for any regularity that might reveal its purpose. It's not just studying us, she announced to the emergency council gathered in the partially functioning command center. It's replicating us. Look at these scans. The particles are assembling themselves into microscopic structures that mimic human cells, human brain patterns, even our DNA. It's learning how to be human. Why? Elena asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Dr. Chen's face was grim. History suggests that when a technologically superior civilization studies a less advanced one, the results are rarely favorable for the latter. I think we're being sampled, cataloged, perhaps even harvested. For what purpose? Colonel Ward demanded. I have a theory, Dr. Okafor said quietly. The signal we initially received, I've been reanalyzing it. There were patterns we missed, embedded deep within the mathematical sequences. They weren't just prime numbers or universal constants. They were extinction events. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You're saying this thing has done this before, Elena said slowly. To other species. Many others, if my analysis is correct. The signal contained markers that could be interpreted as a record. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of civilizations contacted, tested, and she couldn't finish the sentence. Eliminated, Colonel Ward said flatly. We're being evaluated for termination. The revelation sent waves of fear through the station. Some people panicked, barricading themselves in their quarters. Others turned to their faith, gathering in small groups to pray. A few even attempted to communicate with the entity, offering themselves as willing subjects. But Elena and her team refused to surrender. They worked tirelessly, searching for any weakness in the entity's seemingly perfect technology. If humanity was facing extinction, they would not go quietly. On the 7th day, Dr. Chen discovered something unusual about the entity's particles. When exposed to certain frequencies of radiation from the station's damaged core, they briefly lost cohesion. It's not much, he admitted, but it's the first vulnerability we found. They seem to struggle with maintaining their structure when subjected to precisely 438.7 terahertz radiation. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The engineering team quickly repurposed communication equipment to emit focused bursts of the specific radiation. The effects were limited but promising. In areas bathed by the radiation, the silver particles moved more slowly, seemed less coordinated. Meanwhile, Dr. Okafor continued studying the original signal. searching for any information that might help them understand the entity's ultimate purpose. Her discoveries painted an increasingly disturbing picture. "It's not just one entity," she explained, showing Elena complex data patterns extracted from the signal. "It's a collective, perhaps thousands or millions of individual consciousnesses merged into one. And based on the astronomical references in the signal, they've been traveling between stars for at least 50,000 years." "Doing what?" Elena asked, dreading the answer. "Evolving. Improving. They find intelligent species, study them, extract whatever traits they find useful, and incorporate them into their collective. The species that pass their test contribute to the collective's evolution. Those that fail," she trailed off, "are destroyed." Elena finished. "But what's the test? What are they measuring?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Liam Torres, a junior technician who had been maintaining the station's environmental systems, approached Elena with something he'd noticed. "The entity's activity changes depending on our emotions," he explained nervously, showing her data collected from various parts of the station. "When people are afraid or selfish, hoarding supplies, abandoning their posts, the particles become more aggressive, more invasive. But when people cooperate, when they help each other despite the danger, the particles become almost passive, just observing." Elena immediately ordered a station-wide analysis comparing the entity's behavior patterns with crew actions. The results confirmed Torres's observation. The entity responded positively to altruism, cooperation, and self-sacrifice. It became hostile when confronted with fear, greed, or violence. "It's testing our moral evolution," Dr. Chen concluded. "Not just our technology or biology, but our capacity for collective action and self-transcendence." Armed with this understanding, Elena developed a daring plan. She gathered the entire station population and explained what they had learned about the entity and its purpose. "This alien intelligence is judging whether humanity deserves to continue existing," she told them bluntly. "It's measuring our moral development, our capacity to put collective good above individual survival. I won't lie to you. We may not survive this encounter. But if we're to have any chance, we must show this entity that humanity is worth preserving." The plan was risky but simple. They would deliberately expose the station's core to controlled overload, generating massive bursts of the radiation that disrupted the entity's particles. This would create a temporary window of vulnerability, but also risk catastrophic damage to the station itself. "The radiation will harm us too," Colonel Ward pointed out. "We could be condemning ourselves to radiation poisoning, even if we survive the entity." "I know," Elena acknowledged. "That's why this must be voluntary. I'll leave a small team to execute the plan. Everyone else should seek shelter in the radiation-shielded emergency bunkers." But something unexpected happened. Instead of rushing to safety, crew members stepped forward one by one, volunteering to help with the dangerous mission. "We're with you, Commander," said Dr. Chen, and heads nodded all around the room. All of us. The sight of her crew, scientists, engineers, soldiers, technicians, standing together, choosing possible death over certain safety, brought tears to Elena's eyes. This, she realized, was humanity at its finest. Not perfect, not without fear, but capable of extraordinary courage when it mattered most. As they prepared for the operation, the entity's presence intensified. Silver particles swirled densely throughout the station, forming complex patterns that pulsed with inner light. The mental pressure increased as well. Each person felt as if something vast and ancient was scrutinizing their thoughts, measuring their intentions. "It knows what we're planning," Dr. Okafor whispered. The core exposure was scheduled for station midnight. Teams were positioned throughout the facility, ready to maintain critical systems during the radiation surge. Elena stood with Dr. Chen and Colonel Ward in the core control room, their fingers hovering over the switches that would initiate the process. "For humanity," Elena said simply and pressed her switch. The others followed suit. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the core began to glow with unearthly light. Its containment field deliberately weakened to allow radiation to flood outward in controlled bursts. The effect on the entity was immediate and dramatic. The silver particles writhed and scattered, losing their coherent patterns. Some seemed to dissolve entirely, while others clumped together in defensive formations. But the entity was far from defeated. The particles that remained began to reshape themselves, adapting to the radiation. They formed into a massive, pulsating sphere in the center of the station, drawing energy from surrounding systems and growing more substantial by the second. "It's evolving in real time," Dr. Chen shouted over the blaring alarms, adapting to our countermeasures. The temperature throughout the station plummeted. Frost formed on walls and equipment. The sphere of silver particles expanded, its surface now churning with complex symbols and images, scenes from Earth's history, moments of humanity's greatest triumphs and darkest failures. And then, unexpectedly, it began to show them something else. Visions of other worlds, other species that had faced this same test. Some had responded with violence, attacking the entity with whatever weapons they possessed. Others had surrendered completely, offering themselves for study and consumption. All had failed. "You are a HFY Orient," the thought impressed itself upon every mind in the station. "You sacrifice yourselves, not from fear or reason, but from choice, to protect others, to preserve your kind." The sphere contracted suddenly, its surface becoming mirror-smooth. Within its depths, faces appeared, not human faces, but something older, more primal. Dozens, then hundreds of distinct entities, watching through their collective creation. "We AAVEXISTED for eons," the thought continued. "We AAVES countless civilizations rise and fall. Most destroy themselves. Others we GVGD unworthy of CONTINUATION. The UNIVRC has limited resources. Only those with the capacity for transcendency deserve to expand beyond their cradles." The radiation from the core was causing visible damage to the station now. Systems failed in cascading sequences. The air grew thin as life support struggled. But the crew of Helios Station stood their ground, working together to maintain their fragile bubble of existence in the face of cosmic judgment. In the core control room, Alina stepped forward, facing the silver sphere directly. "We may not be perfect," she said firmly, "but we're trying. Humanity has committed terrible acts, yes, but we've also created beauty, discovered truth, and shown compassion. We're still evolving, still learning. Judge us not just by what we've been, but by what we're striving to become." The sphere pulsed once, blindingly bright. Then, to everyone's amazement, it began to contract, drawing the scattered particles back into itself. The pressure on their minds eased. The temperature slowly returned to normal. "You AAVPASSEDTAE first test," came the thought, gentler now. "There will be others as you expand. We will be watching." The sphere compressed to a point of brilliant light, then vanished completely. In its place floated a small crystalline object, a perfect dodecahedron that gleamed with inner fire. A gift. Knowledge. Use it wisely. And then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the entity was gone. The sensors showed no trace of the massive structure that had orbited Helios 9. The silver particles had vanished from the station. Only the crystal remained, floating gently in midair. In the days that followed, as the station was repaired and systems restored, Dr. Chen began the careful process of studying the crystal. It contained information, vast libraries of knowledge about the universe, other civilizations, and technologies beyond human understanding. But accessing this knowledge wasn't simple. The crystal seemed designed to release information gradually, as humanity proved ready to receive it. It's like a test that never ends, he explained to Elena as they stood once again on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. They've given us the opportunity to grow, but we have to earn each step forward. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant void where the entity had disappeared. Do you think they'll come back? I'm certain of it, Marcus replied. But I don't think we need to fear them anymore. They could have destroyed us easily. Instead, they chose to give us a chance. Because we showed them the best of humanity, Elena said softly. Not our technology or our intelligence, but our capacity for sacrifice and cooperation. Our potential to become something greater than what we are. As if in answer, the crystal in the laboratory below pulsed with soft light, revealing another fragment of cosmic knowledge, another small step on humanity's journey into the vast unknown. Out among the stars, watching from distances beyond human comprehension, the entity continued its ancient mission, testing, evaluating, guiding. And in the records of its collective consciousness, humanity was marked not as a threat to be eliminated, but as a species of interest. A young race with an uncertain future, but one worth watching. A species that had passed the first test.